Hello and welcome to the Daily's Double Shot for our first episode of Fall Quarter 2014. I'm executive producer Simon Fox. Since classes started, we've been busy getting our hands dirty, documenting student life from a student's perspective. And over the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you a few brief snapshots into the ongoing story that is the University of Washington. And it all starts here in the Daily's newsroom. Let's jump right into it.
Ooh, what is that? Chinese.
Yeah.
I'll see you there. Okay.
Hi, I'm Colin Friley. This week I met with Cooper and Veen, a UW journalism student. This summer, Cooper had the opportunity to travel to West Africa, where he found himself in the midst of the biggest international news story of the year.
When 21-year-old University of Washington journalism student Cooper Nveen left for Freetown, Sierra Leone this past June, there were only 30 cases of Ebola in that country. In fact, in the offices of Awoko...
For a few months this summer, Cooper Nveen was able to pursue his dream of writing for a Sierra Leonean newspaper. Until that is, the threat of Ebola began to rear its ugly head.
I actually remember when Cooper came to the orientation for new journalism majors, because he came up to me afterwards and said, I want to go to Awoko. I want to do this internship. So I remember that Cooper was like, this is where I want to go. What do I need to do to get there?
By all standards, it was just the more than I could have ever asked for ever. Like a journalism internship, like through my school, like that could have been anywhere from like study abroad to in Rome or just like anything, just so not what I was expecting.
Not your average intern, Cooper immediately threw himself into the heart of Sierra Leonean politics.
And so I kind of tried from the get-go to try to write about the issues that I thought were the most pressing. Awoko, the newspaper I was working for, is one of like 3 independent journalism outlets in the entire country, and so it's taken very seriously. One of the few papers that ends up on the president's desk every morning. And so there were things that I almost couldn't say because of the visibility, just kind of like, well, who the hell is this guy? Shows up and all of a sudden he's critiquing us and stuff like that. The kind of things that I was writing about, again, were being written about in many other publications. But for the most part, there's a decent amount of press freedom in Sierra Leone, but it does get cut off quite abruptly.
So freedom of the press is really, really different in all of these different countries that we send students to through the Foreign Intrigue program. And that's a big part of what they're learning in these internships. And so I like that Cooper was pushing those boundaries, but it's also really important for the students to work closely with their host publication and know that they're not doing something that's going to endanger them or endanger the other journalists that they're working with.
Unfortunately, Cooper was never given enough time to truly ruffle the feathers of Sierra Leone's police or government, as Ebola burst onto the scene and threatened his stay in Freetown.
I was pretty headstrong about not leaving, about feeling that I was perfectly safe as long as I acted safe, washed my hands with the chlorine dispensers that were in front of every building, avoided large crowds, long sleeve shirts, the things everybody's doing now.
We always prepare students for kind of emergency and disaster situations and have a really solid plan of what to do if something happens. But it's never been quite like what happened with Cooper.
Everything changed in mid-July when Dr. Sheikh Omar Khan died of Ebola. Khan was a major figure.
I had a long conversation with Jessica Partnow and David Domke, and it was a great talk. It was just pretty much like, tell us why we shouldn't pull you out. It wasn't, we're going to pull you out. It was, tell us why we shouldn't. In the end, they decided that I was satisfactory enough to let me stay. And then one night, I just woke up in the middle of the night to find an email from Professor Domke. But then on top of his email, an email from the UW's vice provost saying, just the title, Cooper, it's time to come home now.
But as journalists, we take calculated risks, and it's important to know, it's important to avoid taking unnecessary risks.
I think about Sierra Leone every single day, and I have wholeheartedly committed myself to returning next year. When I go back, I'm going to tackle it with more muster than I ever would have.
Hey guys, this is KJ Hiramoto, your new daily double shot reporter. Today we will be looking at 2 thematic study abroad students from Japan and see the language barrier challenges that they face as international students here at the University of Washington. One of the things I heard these students joke about is that it is common for Japanese students to struggle in ordering a Subway sandwich in their non-native language of English. So today, we will be sending out one of the students to see if they can tackle this challenge. Check it out.
Hi, my name is Shoichiro Yanagi. We are both sophomore at University of Washington.
Hello, I'm Hiromu Yamagata. We both came from Japan.
Sho and Hiromu are 2 of the Japanese students from Jackson School International Studies' Thematic Study Abroad program. For these 2, language barrier has been a major issue throughout their experiences studying in America.
It has been hard for me to understand what people say and also express myself.
The hardest English phrase for me is to say a little bit, because for most Japanese, it's difficult to pronounce L's. My favorite word so far is double chocolatey chip frappuccino. I've heard it from the Starbucks.
Pace of campus has been very fast.
Although Hiromu admits that he hasn't practiced his English much outside of class, he has said that the reading homework from his TSA classes has helped him expand his vocabulary here in the States. Oftentimes, you can see Hiromu using the digital translator to look up words he's never used or heard before. JSIS professor Scott Montgomery is one of the professors here at the UW that teaches these TSA students. He shared some of his teaching methods to keep his students engaged.
So I make my voice a little bit stronger. I make it simpler in terms of vocabulary. I make sure my pronunciation is very clear as I can, being from New York. And at the same time, I look at the students' response. Do they look like they are paying attention, and even when I call their name, and are understanding what I'm saying, or do they have that glazed-eyed look? But I also ask them after the class, you know, did you have a hard time this way? Did you have a hard time with this subject? Was this easier? How about now if I speak this way? And that really helps. That provides a check on myself. Then we do a lot of small group discussion, and that helps the foreign students a great deal. They feel a lot more comfortable speaking in a small group where much less is risked. And then they feel more and more comfortable speaking to a larger group.
Like UN Day, there was like an Earth Day one day, but I couldn't pronounce Earth at that time. I was saying Ass Day. People like keep laughing at me. It's Ass Day, Ass Day. I didn't know what I was saying. I was trying to say Earth. And I found out, like my friend told me, don't say ass because it's butt, you know. So I'm trying to say like Earth, but I really couldn't say like. I tried my best, but I would keep saying ass. So.
One of Hiro's most traumatic experiences so far during his stay in the United States have been his inability to order a sandwich from Subway.
Last time I got mysterious sandwich, so I'm here for revenge. Italian beef and tea. Yeah. Is it nice? So what kind of bread? Italian herbs and cheese.
Okay, herb cheese, right? Next time. Cheddar, right? Did you want a chopstick?
Yes, please.
Toast. Let me know. Right.
I was nervous and it made me sweat, but I got the sandwich I wanted.
Hi, I'm Teresa Jackson, and if you've been on the Ave in the past couple of weeks, you may have walked by or seen the homeless encampment right over there on Northeast 43rd Street and University Way Northeast. Since last visiting the camp, there have been a number of tents that have come to show their support. I went ahead and talked to a few homeless people about what it's like being homeless in U District and also what their message is about.
We are people. We bleed, we breathe, we pray, we cry, we eat, we laugh, we love. We care about all of you. We just want to be cared about too.
The men and women on the Ave have begun to speak out.
We're not asking for money. We're not asking for food. We're asking for support. We're asking for people to care.
Several tents have begun to spring up on University Way Northeast. What's caused a stir in the community is not just what they're fighting for, but where they've camped out. Smack dab, near the heart of the Ave, at the post office.
We understand, people walking around, they don't want to see this all over the place. But you know what? Everyone now is living paycheck to paycheck just about. If that paycheck don't come in, you're going to be hanging out here with us.
Even though he knows they are a bit of an obstacle, Stephen Crow, director of the Ave Foundation, believes there's a bigger issue.
I still see some of the same people when I was a teenager out here in the same shoes. And I'm like, what have you been doing? He's like, man, I've been working. But every time I save up enough for first, last, and deposit, the rent's gone up. I can't afford it no more. I got to save more money and more money.
While walking down the Ave, I ran into Jessica Eli, a girl I went to high school with who is now facing some of these issues that Stephen talks about.
Me and my fiance, we would have trouble actually just figuring out where our next place was to set up our tent. I'd say my biggest challenge is mainly moving around, stashing my stuff to places where I have to worry about if someone's going to steal any of my stuff. If it's on a certain property, will it be there the next day?
Jessica's outlook on life is similar to those of her peers who aren't even in the same predicament.
I'm just trying to get on my feet, just make sure everything's good with life, and just live it day by day.
Many who are homeless have similar issues to those who aren't. It's because of factors like increased housing rent and not enough rooms in shelters that have homeless people in many of these situations.
Why should we have to move from our community that we grew up in, we live in, we work in, and be forced to go live in another tent city in another part of the city, or another drop-in center, another shelter?
While talking to Jessica, she reminded me that even though being homeless in the U District is hard, there are some upsides.
But yeah, I feel like I'm in a better situation because of all the programs out here. There's Teen Feed for youth from 18 to 26 to where you can get dinner nightly. There's the Roots Shelter just down in the alleyway over there. And there's actually drop-ins with case management that will help you towards your goals. And there is also housing that you can get into.
Even though there's still a shortage of resources, Stephen gave me a few possible answers that could help the homelessness problem.
Well, good answer is you see all these abandoned buildings around here that you see around. Most of us are skilled tradesmen. Me, I happen to be a carpenter. I'm very good at my job. Thank you, brother. I love what I do. I would be more than willing if there was a building given to us to build up, bring it back up to speed, get it up to code. I know a plumber, electrician, drywallers, painters, landscapers, we're all homeless.
But until that plan can be put into action,
we're asking for everyone to stand behind us, sign our petitions, come out here and hang out with us. Remember when you walk by and you hear someone making a snide comment, go, just remember they're people. If you have a place that you're living at, we're asking you please put a tent out front. Put a sign in front of that tent. It says, support the local homeless.
The U District is many of our homes, and the Ave is at our heart. So maybe next time you pass by the mini tent city, stop and listen.
I'm spreading a message of peace, of unity. Everyone can be one here.
In the University District,
a community can save a life.
Shanisa Jackson.
And I believe the University District community can save ours.
The Daily's Double Shot. Hola. Konnichiwa. Ni hao. Namaste. I can't speak all these languages, but I did meet a guy at UW can.
Well, namaste. Kuzuzang po tashi deleg ngidrupacharola. My name is Charles Warner, otherwise known as Hari, Carlitos, Charles, Charlie. फिर कुछ साल पहले चूँकि मेरे चंद दोस्त बिन अलाक़वामी तालिब इल्म होते थे और मैंने अपने चंद इंटरनेशनल दोस्तों के साथ बचा था इसलिए मैंने ज़बान भाषा पढ़ने शुरू किया मुझे बहुत pasand लगता तो ज़रूर tất nhiên qua vài năm tôi biết một số ngôn từ ngẫu nhiên đã quan sát thấy từ bạn bè tôi ví dụ Hola pera 어떻게 어디가 genau magicayo lakhaim thì cụm từ như vậy giúp tôi cách nói với mọi người. Então, do que outro motivo fazemos qualquer coisa na vida é que eu aprendi essas línguas a partir da escola, mas ainda eu via para esta universidade diversa porque de que outra maneira posso reivindicar assim uma habilidade tão penetrante como auxiliar do mundo real como a linguagem é só isso.那你到底会哪一种语言啊？ بس أنا ما تحكي العربي， 我唔識聽廣東話，只知道國語啊，所以我發音超好。A volte posso pretendere di che io parlo una lingua, ma in realtà io non lo sei. Aber ich spreche diesen Worten der Hoffnung, die wir teilen können und verstanden werden. Mais en réalité, actuellement, c'est comme si qu'on fait tous, n'est-ce pas? Où est la limite de savoir quelque chose comme les expériences des autres, les communications, l'adaptation, relever les défis et apprendre de vos erreurs? Je veux juste de se rapprocher, de comprendre ces gens qui me sont chers, pas beaucoup plus. Nunca se puede creer la gente cuando les digo que soy estadounidense y pues aunque no se preocupen soy bastante menso todavía. Entonces, pero creo que trascender, romper, abandonar al ego, desfiarse a sí mismo y cómo defines tu mundo es donde que podemos crecernos y florecer así. I mean, that made sense, right? It made sense in my mind. Anyways, aloha.
As Seahawks fever drifts back into Seattle on the fall air, the Burke Museum lines up to make an offensive play that the Beast himself would be proud of.
I'm Catherine Van Marcuse, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Bill Holmes Center for the Study of Northwest Coast Art. The purpose of the Burke Museum is to be Seattle's natural history and culture museum. We have collections in ethnology from all around the Pacific Rim and the local indigenous cultures, but the Burke also has many scientific collections and more than 2 million objects in all of its divisions. So last year, when everyone was getting very excited about the Seahawks headed to the Super Bowl, Robin Wright, who's our curator of Native art, was teaching an art history class here at UW, and her students were curious as to where the Seahawks logo came from. So she spoke to Bill Holm, who's our curator emeritus and an expert on Northwest Coast art, and he said, I know exactly where it comes from. The NFL designers were looking at art of the Northwest Coast Indians, and this black and white photo of a mask from Vancouver Island was the inspiration for the NFL designers. So we are having an exhibit that opens at the end of November, November 22nd, called Here and Now, Native Artists Inspired. And in that exhibit, we're showing how historic collections inspire current production in the artistic community. And so this Seahawks mask fits right into the story of our exhibit. And of course, it's really fun to bring it to Seattle during the football season. The mask originally came from Vancouver Island, from the Kwakwaka'wakw people, who are all of the speakers of Kwakwala. They have many villages up at the north end of Vancouver Island. We don't know exactly which village it came from, although we're hoping that with enough community consultation, we can find out about that. But at some point in the late 19th or early 20th century, it left Vancouver Island and went into a collection in New York, ended up in the collection of the surrealist painter Max Ernst. Eventually, it was published from his collection in the book that the NFL designer saw, and then it went into a private collection of William Palmer, who left his gift to the Hudson Museum in Maine. And now the Hudson Museum is graciously loaning it to us for our exhibit. So this is similar to the mast that inspired the Seahawks logo. It's a transformation mast from the north end of Vancouver Island. Would have been used in one of their winter ceremonies. People are still using these kinds of masts today. And at an important moment during the dance, the mast, which comes out closed, opens up and you can see the inside face. It's very expensive to bring a piece of artwork safely across the country. You need dedicated handlers who know how to keep the piece safe and to keep it protected. And so those are the requirements that museums have when they loan pieces from one to the other. So the shipping is very expensive, but there's also other costs involved, getting it ready for putting on display and mounting, and also bringing community consultants down from Vancouver Island to help us with the cultural history of the mask. If you want to support bringing the mask to the Burke, go to Kickstarter and look for the campaign that's Burke Museum Bringing the Seahawks Mask to Seattle. I think what's really wonderful about this is it's a chance for people to recognize a little bit more about the indigenous cultures of our region, and the Seahawks logo is a great way to get into that. A lot of people, when you ask them, say, oh, I didn't realize that that was a native design. Then they start to look around and see there is so much native art in our city that comes both from our local Salish area and from the indigenous territories all the way up through Vancouver Island and up to Alaska.
Hi guys, I'm Alex Bosco.
And I'm Marina Taylor.
And that guy right behind us is the Lone Stranger, standing at 28 feet tall.
He's one of 12 site-specific art pieces that make up the MAD Campus project.
In this segment, we went around campus, explored different parts that we'd never seen before.
Check it out. You may have seen them around campus, the dozen new, larger-than-life art installations appearing across lawns and communal spaces. The pieces are part of a project called MAD Campus, but these beautiful works of art are ones we can't stay mad about. MAD Art is a collaboration between Arts UW and a local organization, MAD Art. MAD Art whittled down hundreds of potential artists' proposals to a list of 40, who were then invited to see the potential sites and submit 3 more proposals. From there, the 13 finalists were chosen, 8 of which are UW-trained artists. We met up with Julia Chamberlain, who's currently pursuing her second undergraduate degree here at UW. Her piece, Lux Sit, consists of neon tubes attached to clustered trees in a grove on Parrington Lawn. The creative process for MAD Campus started when I talked initially to the 2 people who are in charge of MAD Campus, and they floated the project by me and they gave me a list of possible sites. This was the one that I kind of had my eye on, just because it would be a wonderful place to do a piece with light because of this wonderful natural setting that already exists. So I wouldn't have to be doing very much sculpture to highlight the space that was already there. So I really like how my piece is designed for university students to just stumble upon it, because most of all, you can pretty much only see the work at night, which is not when, let's say, the gallery tours are looking at it. It's mostly when students are getting done with classes or coming home after a long day of studying, that as they're walking off campus, they'll notice it. Next, we headed to Hortus Curiosus, nestled in the heart of the medicinal herb garden. 2 UW Fine Arts grads, Saya Moriyasu and Maki Tamura, collaborated to present functional tables and benches out of concrete tree stumps, reminiscent of old-growth forests that once covered UW grounds.
So we did our brainstorming and initial concepts in February, and then April we started getting going, and I'd say July and August was, really, we're spending a lot of time on it. Well, the whole process was very collaborative of, from first brainstorming different ideas, and then I'd worked in cement some, so I thought I knew what we were doing, but I didn't really know what we were doing. And for the banners, I did some of the research and some of the lettering, but it's really like Maki's hand in creating custom textile, like 6 yards of custom textile.
Medicinal Herb Garden is a very healing space, and we're both attracted to that concept?
It's been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
It seems like people are hoping that it would stay at the campus. They're like, this is staying, right? And it's like, well, maybe.
Just steps away from the herb garden is W. Scott Trimble's wooden masterpiece, Wave Sign. Meant to illustrate concepts of travel over vast distances by way of folding space, the structure sits appropriately between the physics and astronomy buildings.
People's reactions has been it's been great. It's sort of a piece that borders so many different other things. I mean, it's sort of architecture. It's like it's an installation. It's it's art. It alludes to some sort of functionality. The undulating pathway is sort of a metaphor that we all, like we all travel this metaphorical pathway through life, and I like for people to kind of bring their own narrative to it, and with that in mind, I think it brings a lot of people in from a lot of different walks of life to kind of experience it, and that's the most important thing to me as an artist. I constructed this to be physically interacted with, and that's all I'm going to say about that. You just heard it from me, the artist. I am welcoming people to play on it. Just be conscious is all I ask. This is just sort of a, on a graph, it's just a sine wave. But I just want to sort of allude to, like, that sine wave represents a frequency. Everything in the universe on Earth has a frequency, and so this is my little frequency. And a composer friend of mine actually told me what it sounds like. And he said it sounds like this. That's what he says it sounds like. And it's like, I think that's kind of funny, actually, because I'm not really going for anything specific. I'm just sort of alluding to these things, right?
These unique interactive art installations won't be here for long. Mad Campus wraps up its exhibition on October 25th. Be sure to make your way through campus before they're gone for good.
The news day is wrapping up here on campus, and that's all the content that we've got for you tonight. But make sure you tune in 2 weeks from now to catch our next episode. In the meantime, you can check us out online at dailyuw.com/doubleshot or on our YouTube channel, Daily UW. We really appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time on the Daily's Double Shot.